Let's close things off. NAIA football. The first one, stinker of a game. We've had a couple of those today. Morningside, 35-0 over a Mid-American Nazarene team that did literally anyone see this coming, Matt?
Um, Probably not in this fashion. I think
No.
Morningside did have the heavy advantage, definitely, and would be favored in this matchup. But yeah, 35-0 is a bit belts ass, as the kids say. You know? I mean, thanks for
Oh,
playing Mid
dude.
American Nazarene. Had a fantastic season, but Morningside just rolled. Like
Just,
there's no
yeah.
other way to put it.
I think that is
Had
the
their
way to put it.
way. Their offense just blew Mid American Nazarene out of the water. Pretty much got whatever they wanted. Obviously, you know, throwing a pick isn't great, but on the ground, Max Ho for Morningside going for 26 attempts, 149 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That'll get it done. Not to mention just the suffocating defense holding a very high-powered Mid-American Nazarene team to literally 0 points.
Yeah. That was it, dude. Mid-American Nazarene 1 for 15 and that was third down, converted just 2 of 7 plays on fourth down. So they tried to convert a lot. They tried to keep drives alive. They were unable to do so in some pretty awesome conditions too over there. But Dijon Walls, he broke his current safeties coach's record for the longest interception return in Morningside history, 100 yards.
Yeah.
That does not seem like that will ever be broken unless the football field is literally expanded, huh?
Yeah. I really doubt that they can top that. But I mean, this is when Morningside plays their best. They are used to that weather. They're used to all that happening. And Steve Ryan just always has this team ready for late season runs like this. I am not shocked. Like it's a shocking result, but I'm not shocked that Morningside just found a way to put the foot on the gas and get rolling in that game.
As the kids say, belt to ass, foot to gas.
Yeah, belt to ass, foot to gas.
I love the dive into the snow after that big play, too. Jimmy and I were just
Yeah.
talking earlier. We are like, this is where you got to start breaking out the snow angel celebration, like after the touchdown. It looked like there was too much going on in the head there to really formulate a celebration. It was probably like, holy shit, I need to get into the end zone. Like this play is going to be ridiculous. And then, oh, I just jump into the snow, like one of those type of moments.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Sioux City, Iowa, not my favorite place in the world by any means. But that stadium, I remember playing there one of my seasons at Dakota Wesleyan when we traveled there, and early November game, really fun. It was like sprinkling snow. It was super cool.
That's
Um,
neat.
but yeah, they are. That's when Morningside is at their deadliest.
Yeah.
They get that weather buff that they are so used to in the Midwest.
Yeah, and they had 2 interceptions on the day. We saw the one of them right there. But Morningside also threw a pick of their own. They lost a fumble on the day. There were a couple turnovers offensively that obviously MNU totally unable to capitalize on. I think that was kind of the big piece there. And this Mid-American Nazarene squad had a couple big defensive plays as well. Got to the quarterback a little bit, a couple sacks on the day. But just they weren't able to string anything together. There was some good individual efforts, some good individual plays that didn't turn into almost anything. You look at the scoreboard, and that's the really frustrating part if you're a fan of that squad. And Adrian Parsons has had himself another really great season. He just didn't maybe have his best stuff that day. His receivers, he was led by Miles Himes, 10 catches, 102 yards. That feels like a pretty good day for him, but just didn't have his best stuff in that day. And Morningside, if you're not going to bring your A game, you are going to get run out of the building, I think, rather quickly.
Yeah, a team that traditionally smells blood in the water, and it's just like a bunch of sharks. Just absolutely
Thank you.
taking advantage of those weaknesses. So.
Yep, 100%. Now, we'll move on, though. Talk about this Grandview Friends game. And this one, I think, turned out to be quite interesting. And Grandview, for the first time in a long time, did not find themselves on top early in this one, Matt.
Yeah, Friends came out to play. Cavante Baker had a very, very good game, as we are used to him seeing a couple scores there in the first half for Friends as well to take the lead, which was honestly, I don't think Grandview was prepared for Friends to be ready to go from the jump, but they absolutely were. Grandview obviously scoring first, but Friends once they got rolling, they were rolling. And it was a really fun matchup because these two teams like kind of play that slow, grindy, smash mouth, tough nose, any sort of adjective like that you'd like to use, type of football.
Yeah. I like those are some good ones. Those are definitely some good
Yeah.
ones. You see the fun kind of like throwback pass there on the rollout and then dip
Yeah.
it back towards the left side. That's a neat little play design right
Mhm.
there for the score. And yeah, I mean, they definitely had some things going for them, but like I said, it wasn't a commanding game from start to finish, a wire-to-wire victory that these guys have been used to. And it took all the way into the fourth quarter. They put together that 85-yard drive in 6 plays, which is pretty, all things considered, pretty quick drive down the field, and got the score there to get things going. Friends, though, not even then giving them the ball early on. And I think that's the tough part when you play a Friends team like this. If you cannot get them out of rhythm, we've talked about, I think it's cool. We've got proficient teams that run this option style offense at each level right now. You look at a team like
Mhm.
Harding at the Division II level with the flex bone, Springfield College, who we had one of their fullbacks on tonight. They run that option style offense, and they had 468 yards on the ground this week in the playoffs. And then you talk about a Friends team that's playing at a very high level at the NAIA scene, and really neat to see that we have that resurgence, at all those levels. But the Vikings, they outscore the Falcons 14-0 in the second half, pitch a shutout, and clinch, move on. That's what good teams find a way, I guess, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Jackson Waring too for
Yep.
Grandview, I think should be mentioned. Quarterback, 17 completions for 263 yards and 2 touchdowns, and not turning the ball over in a game of keep away like this when you're
Yes.
playing Friends, because that's what Friends does so well, is time of possession and being able to match them in that and not give them free possessions. Uh, Absolutely changes the game for you. Grandview able to climb back into it pretty much single-handedly because they did not turn the ball over.
Yeah, no, agreed. And you talked about it. That's a big reason why that's so important, right? You give that ball over to that Friends offense, you could be sacrificing 8 minutes of the game because you turn the ball over. And so
Mhm.
his ability to not do that, and Grandview's offense, their ability to not do that was certainly very important. But Texas Wesleyan, they hosted Benedictine, and home team did not come out on top of this one. Ravens take the dub, 42-33.
Yeah, this was an absolute shootout. I think that we expected this one to be high scoring, but Benedictine just pulling away late, and looking really good doing it. Obviously, Texas Wesleyan came to play in this one, taking a 14-0 lead in the first couple minutes of the game, which
Yep.
was crazy. And then Benedictine wakes up a little bit, and they just get rolling in the second half. And then it kind of goes back and forth towards the end there, but Benedict in a way to able to pull away and show their stuff. I think that they're itching for another shot at one of these top teams after this one.
I would certainly agree there, dude. You talked about the first start. I mean, in the first 3 minutes, and the Ravens would bounce back and score almost right away. 28 unanswered in the second half. And that is a number that is just really impressive, especially in a playoff type environment here for this Ravens squad. And when Texas Wesleyan came down, they were threatened in the fourth quarter. And Jackson Hoskins, he steps up. The pick in the end zone, returns it. First play from scrimmage after that, Dooley connects 89-yard touchdown pass, Jayshon Todd. That puts Benedictine in front 35-24. And then a final drive. Another turnover. They capitalize. Zachary Lacombe picks it off the 33, gives the Ravens a short field, chance to put the game away, and Gathright finishes with 171 yards on 6 catches. It's like a Randy Moss type stat line.
Yeah, absolutely. Jackson Dooley, when you go 15 completions for 344 yards, you are airing that thing out, which is what we have seen with Dooley. But I think also worth mentioning Dalton Witherspoon at the running back position. Not something we usually talk a lot about with this Benedictine team. Their pass offense is their bread and butter.
Yes.
But Dalton Witherspoon having a very efficient 5.4 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns, being that X factor for him, being another element that Texas Wesleyan had to worry about.
Agreed. And Gathright, to go back to him for just a second here, finishes with that great stat line. He's broken the Ravens' all-time receiving yards record. Also, his total has allowed him to set a new single-season record. He now has 1,215 yards this season, broke the record by just 13 yards set by Aaron Jackson in 2018. So you have a new career receiving yards leader and now a new single season receiving yards leader in Jacob Yathright. And dude, those uniforms, oh my,
They're crisp.
gorgeous.
They're crisp, man. They're crisp.
And it's hard to mess up a black uniform. I will be the first to say that. You don't really have to do too much, but they didn't do too much. It is beautiful.
Yeah, it's really nice, man. They they rock that. But yeah, Dooley and Gathright, man, just one of the best tandems we've seen in college football this year, bar none. Just absolutely able to air it out, and pays off. This high scoring offense gets it done for Benedictine.
4 interceptions to the Ravens too. Feels notable.
Yeah.
And one last note here too, and this is something I wasn't aware of right away, but you look at this here, and this is a post from their head coach Joel Osborne. It was about their starting punter and kickoff specialist, Cullen Bruner, and looks like he was hospitalized in the game. And I was just doing a little bit of reading, and not to nothing about too many details, but was injured, had some scares as far as his spine and some other major portions of his body were concerned, his muscle control and ability to move different limbs. And it seems like there he is holding the thumbs up in the hospital bed. So really good news out of that camp, and happy to hear that he's okay. I did not see that during the game, and that was just something where I was scrolling, and I kind of found that when I was doing my research yesterday or earlier today or whenever that was. So T's and P's to him, and hopefully on the road to recovery. And it in the little blurb there, it said that he was most upset that he had to get his jersey cut off of him.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. But glad he's doing well, and I imagine that getting the win helps that out a little bit.
Winning heals all, they say.
Yeah, winning heals all wounds.
But really, that's
glad to see he's doing well for real. That's fantastic.
That is, and it's scary stuff, because it sounded like at the time when on the field that there was concern that he wasn't able to move one of his arms, and obviously when you have people on the field that go down and aren't moving, that's like a breath holding moment. That's like, oh goodness. But nonetheless, we'll continue onward. Montana Western, they really look dominant in this game. 41-14, they take down Dickinson State. The lowest total offensively for this Blue Hawk squad throughout the course of 2024, and this Montana Western defense, they really were doing it all in this one, Matt.
Yeah, welcome to the Frontier Conference, Dickinson State. This is what you have waiting for you on the other side.
That's right.
Obviously, Montana Western on offense, as we have seen Michael Palandri again going for over 300, almost 400 yards, which is just his average at this point. Absolutely airing it out, getting it done, and Dickinson State wasn't really in this one. Montana Western's defense came to play, and this is a very scary football team going into the next round of the playoff.
I agree with you there. Shout out to Montana Sports for the highlights here. They got some of the best clips out there. I will say, I want to shout out them. They always do a great job of reporting on these small school football teams. First playoff win for UMW since 1994. It's been 3 decades before the Bulldogs have won one in the postseason, which is wild when you look at this program and some of the success they've had throughout the regular season, the Frontier Conference, and that cannibalization, if that's a word that we talk about week in and week out, certainly has a part to play in that one. But slow start in this one. Both teams combined for 12 unsuccessful offensive drives, as in not scoring any points. And that was kind of an interesting start to this. The defense for the Bulldogs certainly held in there. They knew that offense, and Palandri, like you talked about, was going to start clicking on all cylinders. They certainly did that eventually. They scored 17 in the fourth quarter, had a defensive shutout as well, and that kind of tied the bow on was otherwise a pretty wire-to-wire finish for this Bulldog squad. And now they get to play at home again, Matt.
Yeah, Montana Western, like I said, they just look as good as anybody right now. Dickinson State, didn't really get to have that rushing attack rolling like they would have liked, and we've seen all season for them. Will Madler's still having a decent day, but not connecting on over half of his pass attempts, especially with some of the issues they were having on the ground. Not necessarily a recipe for success on offense for Dickinson State. They'll be in a good position going into next season, but man, Montana Western, it is a wake up call for sure.
Yes,
Frontier football is big boy football. So,
hell yeah, it is. And speaking of big boy football, one of the big boys, quote unquote, got taken down this weekend. There were a couple games that I think there are a couple results I was surprised by. This was one of them. Georgetown, they take down St. Thomas 27-21 down in Florida, and the Tigers have done it again. Coming out of the Mid-South, they made quite a lot of noise this year, and they do not stop there. Talk about a clean black uniform, by the way. That's not a – is that a picture from – that? It looks like it is, but I can't tell by the jersey there. But they took a 7-0 lead in the second quarter. St. Thomas, they had the ball for 10 minutes and 9 seconds in the first quarter. They were dominating. They weren't giving it up, but – bend, don't break. Georgetown defense, they do not give up a score there. Taking an early lead. Bobcats, 79 total yards in the second half. Georgetown had the ball for over 21 minutes, including the final 9.5 to seal the win, dude.
Yeah, fantastic showing for Georgetown, getting it done. And the fashion of this game, maybe it's an upset that Georgetown won, but the way this game went, just immaculate defense and rushing attacks and big plays through the air. Like, this game had absolutely everything. Both quarterbacks going for 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions apiece is really funny, and very fitting for this type of game, especially with how those defenses showed out. The X factor absolutely was Darius Neal. Has had a couple showings this year where he has not been able to get going, but 156 yards on 20 carries, good for 7.8 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. Absolutely made the difference. And Rontavious Farmer on the other side of the ball, with obviously 145 yards.
He still got his, but it just doesn't feel the same, right?
Yeah, it doesn't quite feel the same. Darius Neal, having the slight edge there, not just on the stat sheet, but also when you see how Georgetown was able to control the ball in the second half, absolutely makes sense why the result ended the way it did. And it was fantastic matchup. Obviously, St. Thomas, very unfortunate end of their season. It sucks that a team had to lose this game because honestly, I think both these teams just deserve to be in the next round of the playoff. But here we are, so St. Thomas definitely will be looking for next year. And if this wasn't the revenge tour, I imagine they will be back with a vengeance. So good, very good win for Georgetown.
Absolutely. Cue it up. St. Thomas, they entered this one averaging over 46 points per game. That's 8th best in the NAIA. Georgetown held them under 22 points for just the second time in the Bobcats season, this 2024 campaign. And 2 turnovers through the air for that Tiger attack offensively. They were able to overcome that and a couple of their shortcomings when it came to offense. But like you said, when you possess the ball for the most part and are able to control that time possession, a lot of things will end up going your way. But let's move over. Southwestern, the Mound Builders, they take the trip to Indiana Wesleyan, and home team comes out on top of this one 24-13. And I think this kind of summarizes it here. Indiana Wesleyan, I think, was a much more heavily favored team in this contest than by the 11 points shown here in the final score. And I think their head coach, Andrew Rode, said it best. He said, quote, "We didn't play our best football, but they found a way to win as a team. And in the playoffs, that's what you got to do." Now, I'm sure his coach and their staff would like to make it a little bit less of a competitive match and maybe put away a team like that a little earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a really good showing from Southwestern, honestly. A lot closer of a matchup than I thought this was going to be with the way Indiana Wesleyan had played through most of the season, and considering that Southwestern had to kind of make the climb into the playoff. But yeah, this was a fantastic matchup from start to finish. Indiana Wesleyan's defense just suffocating, not allowing points for 3 quarters. Once they settled in and figured out Southwestern's offense, they really shut it down.
That they did. And you look at the breakdown there, IWU 424 yards, outgained them by almost 100, 335 of Southwestern. That defense, they held the Builders to 5 of 14 on third down, 1 of 3 on fourth down. This team's been dynamic at home, and shout out the media guys over there, the guys taking care of the photo, the video, the graphics, the socials. They have been killing it, dude. I don't know if you've been noticing the socials over here from Wesleyan, man. They've been on top of it.
Yeah, Indiana Wesleyan is one of the better funded football programs in the NAIA.
Yep.
They have incredible facilities, incredible support staff, and it shows in the content they're able to pump out like this. So kudos to them. It's definitely noticeable.
I took a visit to Indiana Wesleyan. I don't know if I told you that.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah. So went down there back when Coach Ekins, who is now the head coach at Tiffin, D2 Tiffin in the GMAC, he was down there as the offensive line coach. Had a funny deal where he had, I had communicated with him before. He got a new number, and we hadn't talked in like months, and came back and texted me from a new phone number, and I was already like about to commit to Northern to come play ball, but I was like, shoot, yeah, one more visit. Like, why not? I wasn't committed to nowhere, like whatever. Was really actually blown away by the things that you said. The facilities are absolutely first class. The setup down there, they have a group that was really bought in, and this was years and years ago. The program has only gone here since then. I mean, I'm borderline washed now. This is back. My visit was probably in black and white video. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like 4:3 aspect ratio, you know, type stuff. No, I hear you, man. I hear you. But yeah, Indiana Wesleyan, not just great facilities and great support staff, also a great football team. Like we said, just an all-around great showing from the Wildcats, and they move on.
They do. Levi Tidwell had a day for himself, 9 catches, 100 yards. He's put together quite the season. The grad student out of Harrison, Ohio, I think has been someone that you saw him there in some of the highlights. He's been an all MSFA selection the last 2 years, and has really started to put together a great year. So they've got some good leadership at the offensive skill positions, it seems like, over there at Indiana Wesleyan. But we'll move over to another powerhouse here. The one other team in Florida did get the job done. Kaiser, the Seahawks, take down Pikeville. And this, I was not surprised in the fact that Kaiser won, I was surprised at the fact of how well their defense performed in this one. I think was something that I would take away here. They boasted a school record 607 yards of total offense, and I think the running back room is something I'm sure we'll talk about. Burnett had himself a day. Jaden Miller over 100 yards apiece. Meisinger also back in the mix though for the Seahawks squad, Matt.
From his workload from the game, I imagine that they are working him back in for the last couple games of the season, which they'll need. But they really handled this Pikeville team. Obviously, more of a Cinderella story from this year's playoff, being a 6-5 team getting into the playoff with an automatic bid. But this is a super high-powered Pikeville offense that even when they're losing, like they are able to get yards and score a lot of points, and Kaiser just absolutely shut that down. Pikeville was not able to build momentum like they're used to doing in their games. So it was just an easy way for the Kaiser defense. They showed up and shut it down from the jump. Pikeville obviously scored a touchdown late to get into the 20s in the point total.
Yeah.
But this was start to finish a Kaiser dominant win.
Yeah, and you look at the statistics here from this Pikeville squad. They're averaging almost 44 points a game coming into Saturday, almost 350 yards per game through the air. Kaiser, they limit them to 286, 29 of 48 passing. They forced 2 turnovers. Justin Garcelle forced a fumble and had an interception on the day. That feels pretty awesome. And the win there extends the nation's longest winning streak to 21 games. Typically, that's what happens when you win a national championship, is you start building into the next year. The vast majority of teams do not get to end on that type of winning streak.
Yeah, Kaiser, they know a thing or two about getting this far in the playoff. So I think they'll be just fine. Shea Spencer looking as good as ever, obviously with 16 completions for 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that running back room, man, Andrew Burnett and Jaden Miller.
Talking about a literal 3-headed dragon potentially when they get Meisinger back in the mix.
Yeah, not to mention Shea Spencer can take off when he needs to as
yes.
well. So
he can do it himself.
It's like a 4-headed dragon. Is that like a Hydra? Is that like different territory? I don't know.
Is that like Hydra status?
That's what I'm saying. I think so.
Cut off one head and 2 more grow in its place.
2 more grow back. Yeah, that's what it seems like with this running back group, honestly.
Close it off. Montana Tech plays host to the Northwestern Eli Staters.
Dude, this team makes me look so dumb. For the past 3 weeks, Northwestern has done nothing but make me look like an idiot. And I can't help but give them their flowers. Eli Stater is that guy. And not to mention, you nail a 51-yarder to win the game?
Yeah.
What?
Yep. That was his 4th of the day, too. 4th field goal made.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. Northwestern on the road, getting it done, making me look really dumb. This Montana Tech team had a lot of momentum going into this game as well, and they looked good in this game. Like, Andrew Smith was contributing, and they were scoring and keeping pace with Northwestern, and here we are with Northwestern moving on.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that, Cody Mosier, 2 interceptions on the day, including one with a 38-yard return. That set up the game-winning field goal late that I'm sure we'll get to here in the tape very shortly. Connor McQuillan, he reached the end zone twice, rushed for 116 yards, caught 3 passes for 34. This Northwestern offense was about as multidimensional and explosive as we've seen from them all year, and I think when you make a big change over at the quarterback position that we talked about a lot with this team, it's hard to replicate that success. There's one of those interceptions right there. Hard to replicate that success, but the explosiveness that we saw from this offense, we had just not seen at this level. And here he is, Eli, from 51. Through the uprights, there's probably about 3 yards to spare right there, Matt. And you see the fellow storm the field. What a hell of a win for this Northwestern squad. And it's so funny to me that Northwestern really probably feels like, rightfully so, the underdog story in this kind of situation, but they've kind of earned that in a weird way. They have that chip on their shoulder, rightfully so, and just a really statement win for this program to show them that, hey, we might have lost a dude in Gramstad, and we might have lost some other big-time contributing seniors, but, man, we're going to rebuild, and we're going to be back, and it's not going to take us a year or two. We're here now.
Yeah, they found their stride. They have figured out exactly what works. The offense that wasn't able to churn and lost to Concordia earlier in the season looks completely different from what we've seen. So, yeah, congrats to the Red Raiders. I'm not bitter at all. Yeah, man, it's just an absolutely fantastic showing from both these teams. And Lander Smith, while he was able to score, like I had mentioned, only 58 yards rushing and not really a factor in the receiving game for them is definitely noteworthy there.
I'm with you there, dude. Now, quarterfinals, dude. We're down to 8. Some really good matchups coming this week. If you had to highlight one of these that really stands out to you, what would it be?
If you really like offense, I would tap into Morningside, Montana Western.
Yep.
There will be a lot of points put up in that one, and it will be probably down to who has the ball last. And those are very fun games to watch. Georgetown Kaiser is going to be a gritty, grimy, disgusting football game. And in like the most endearing way I can frame it. And Northwestern Grandview, usually a clash of the Titans, but like we mentioned, Northwestern is a bit of an underdog. They're finding their footing. Kind of building back up from the regular season that they're not used to having. So they're in an interesting position there. And Indiana Wesleyan with Benedictine is going to be another fun one. I'm curious to see how Indiana Wesleyan's defense handles Benedictine's offense, because obviously Indiana Wesleyan shut pretty much everybody else in their path down. Benedictine has seemed to find a way to, score on these good defenses. So who gives first?
Dooley and the boys coming.
Love it.
They are, but
it's a really great set of quarterfinals matchups.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Agreed. And that's how it's supposed to be, right? You don't have teams, there might have been a few here or there that kind of snuck in. They're gone, right? This is time of year that we're playing some really good ball. Everyone here deserves to be here.